the business has changed a great deal from when we started, from social media to the delivery apps. My business is completely different than when we first started. So we had to adapt as well. So giving them an experience, giving them a night out, making it something that you can't replicate from Uber Eats.
But also the scarcity model, right? Have you manufactured that? Because it's like going to a club, right? If you can see a club that has no line, you're not really interested in going in. But if you see the line is like 3 blocks long, you're at least curious to know why this line is 3 blocks long, right? Which makes you want to spend more money for bottles. Being that you can't really get into your restaurant, it makes people want to get into your restaurant. Is that done purposely?
I mean, it's not done purposely. You can't fake having a product that's in demand, right? You had to have created the product.
Mm-hmm.
So it all starts with the product. Like Carbone was a great restaurant. We built a great restaurant. We had no idea the outcome. It was take on a bigger project than we've ever taken on and do your best. Put everything you've got behind it. Make a great product. So it has to start there. And then good problems will come. The good will come out of that. But keep super focused on the product and not the outcome, because there is no outcome without the product. So we built a great restaurant. Thankfully, it's been and continues to be in demand by a really wide demographic of people. For everything from my parents and grandparents to the new athlete that just got drafted, they all love it, and it's rooted in nostalgia, so it touches a lot of people. And then you get into the scarcity model. Then you get into, okay, I've got a really good problem on my hands. How do I solve it? The really good problem is I've got more demand than I have seats. Now we're in a position where we want to make sure we take care of the people that have taken care of us. So all those people that are regulars, that have been regulars, that are great customers, we want to make sure we take care of them. The last thing you want to do I have 200 seats. The last thing I want to do is just have 200 random people in the restaurant that I don't know. They could come in, a two-top can come in, order a bottle of sparkling water and split a pasta and leave. That doesn't help me. Or I can know exactly who those two people are that are coming because they're regulars. I know all of their spending habits. I know everything that they like and they don't like, and I can put those two people in there. That totally changes my night. So that's how the scarcity model works in my favor, is that I take care of the people that take care of me and take care of the company by making sure they always have access to tables.
When you scale, because even when you were talking about the deli and having the restaurant, I'm thinking to myself, most restaurants don't succeed because the hours of functioning, most people are working and they're not there. And if they don't open for lunch, then how do they make revenue? The fact that you have a deli keeps you open throughout the day, and then you can have a restaurant at night. That helps profit margins. When you realize that we need to grow to, like you said, 1,000 square feet now, the process of financing, you went from 2008, where there was a financial crisis, to now it's 2011, 2012, 13. The economy's changing. Is it easier now when you're going to investors to say, hey, I have a proven model, going to banks, hey, we need a loan, here's a proven model, we're in such demand? How was that, going through that at that time?
Incredibly difficult in the beginning, where you're taking, virtually your family's life savings and you're rolling the dice, right? So like the stakes can't possibly be any higher. You're unknown, you're unproven, except for the people that are closest to you. And then you build something that now has a following. So with the second and the third project that you're seeking investment, of course, the first people I'm going to go to are the people that I've met, that now I know, that enjoy my product, that are fans of what I do. So now I've got some audience to talk to ask for, oh, hey, would you like to be a part of what we're doing next or our future growth? Where I had none of that to begin with. So the snowball starts to happen. It's all positive. It's all the positive snowball that comes from putting out something that people want.
So, and at that point, is that now it's you and Rich? Is Jeff a part of this yet?
Jeff's a part of it. He came on really, really early on, pretty much the end of the first year. By the end of our first year in business, Jeff was already part of the company. Exactly this point. He was a super enthusiastic early customer of what we were doing at Teresi.
Okay.
Wound up hanging out with us at the end of the night, having drinks. Hey, I love what you do. This is something I want to be a part of. Here's how I think I could help. Maybe this dynamic is 3 instead of 2. And over the course of, talking it out with him, I was like, maybe this is the right next person. But without having taken that leap of faith and doing Terezi with, just bootstraps, then I don't really meet Jeff.
He never comes in.
Yeah.
So you said something as far as like client retention. That's key for any business, right? It's better to keep clients as opposed to trying to get new clients.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you're keeping data and you're tracking how much money they're spending, right? And you know your A clients from your B clients to your C clients. That's true in any business as well. What are you doing to encourage them to come? Your A clients that's spending $5,000 on wine, how are you encouraging them to come back on a regular basis? Are you constantly in staying in touch with them via text messages? Like, what's your communication method?
I think it's, making sure that we have access for them as much as possible, right, in some sort of tiered system. But again, I think all roads always lead to the product, right? We have to stay hot. We have to stay in demand. How do you do that? You got to keep putting out the product. It's always, all roads always lead back to the product. The restaurant to stay hot for a decade means that enough people have come in and had great experiences. And that database grows as a new customer comes in and has a great experience and they want to come back. Great. But if we start to slip and someone new comes in and they're hot, well, then my A customers are going there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep them. I can't keep them without the product. All roads lead to it.
So even like in a scenario like that, do you have to, let's say you guys have the ravioli, that's amazing. That's why people are coming. Down the street, somebody selling the lasagna, and you lose some customers. Are you updating the menu? Are you updating the products to say, all right, well, if that's what I know you don't like the word competition. We'll say if that's what the colleagues are doing, then let's figure out how we add to it to make sure that we can encompass all of them. It's tricky because you don't want to add too many things, right, to make sure that the price points are matching so you can have profit. You don't want to get rid of the old things because you have loyal customers that are coming there for that. How do you balance that?
I'm always working on something. I'm always working on the product. Whether it's something we just opened, something we're about to open, or looking back at something that's existing. I think you have to look at it, or you'd like to try to look at it through as many sets of eyes as possible. Be a customer yourself. Be in the kitchen. Talk to the team. Talk to the customers. Read reviews. Collect the data. And that will educate you as to what needs to be done, what shouldn't be done, what should be touched. And then there's just sort of the ambition of it all. Okay, I want this brand to grow with me. I started it in 2013. Let's talk about Carbone. I started in 2013. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's 10, 11 years now. It shouldn't stay stagnant. It should grow while not changing to a point where a person who's never been there before gets a different experience. Finding that balance. And really the only way to do it, it's up to me. The balance is up to me, where I want to take it. So it's my personal ambition along with reading the room, collecting the data, finding where I want it to grow. But it's no different than a fashion designer who's in a house that's 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old. You have the customers that are loyal followers, and that's great. But if you don't continue to gain new followers, it will eventually die. So how do you maintain the integrity of the brand standards that have built this thing while continuing to innovate to gain new customers and finding that balance? That's just growth.